Everyday objects often become symbols of something more in the lives of famous people. These simple, yet distinctive glasses have become synonymous with a statesman, a person of wisdom, skill, and vision in dealing with public issues, a personal physician, one who is dedicated to the health and well-being of those under his care, and a friend, someone for whom others have feelings of affection and personal regard. The glasses belong not to a superhero or someone in possession of magical powers, or even a former president. Behind these memorable frames lie the caring eyes of a statesman, physician, and friend. A man who once said he'd like to be best known and remembered simply as a good Hoosier, and someone who tried to be of public service and did it as honest as he could. A man best known as Doc, Dr. Otis R. Bowen. Join us for the next few minutes as we get a glimpse of a country physician, a dedicated husband and father, Indiana's 42nd governor, and our country's 16th Secretary of Health and Human Services. Born on February 26, 1918, at home near Rochester, Indiana, Doc Bowen's life has been filled with presidents, celebrities, and leaders of industry. However, the two individuals who capture his greatest admiration are his mother and father, Pearl and Vernie Bowen. They instilled in Otis a sense of thrift and a strong work ethic, which resulted in his often working 2 or 3 jobs during his high school years and at Indiana University. One of 5 children, Otis learned at home his basic values: a love of family, faith in God, and a dedication to hard work. In 1939, he married Beth Steinman. Many describe this event as the beginning of the real Bowen team that was bonded together until Beth's passing in 1981. The year 1943 gives us a look at another dedicated undertaking of Otis Bowen. Upon receiving his MD degree from IU and completing his internship in South Bend, Dr. Otis Bowen began his contribution to his country as a first lieutenant in the U.S. Army Medical Corps. After rising to the rank of captain and faithfully serving in the Pacific during World War II, Dr. Otis Bowen was discharged in 1946 and returned to Bremen, Indiana to set up his family practice and his home with Beth and their 2-year-old son, Richard. Take a glance at 1952 and you are watching Indiana political history in the making. For it was in 1952 that Dr. Bowen won his very first election to the office of Marshall County Coroner. Entering the race not out of political ambition, but with the desire to serve, and with a common sense philosophy, promise more than you can deliver.
My precinct committeeman and county chairman came to me one day and asked if I would run. I said, okay, I'll take my turn at it. And I ran and was elected, and as I served, I found that I did become more interested in local and state government, and began growling about some of the things that were happening and some of the things that were not being done. So those that heard me said, well, if you're that interested, why don't you get more involved?
4 years later, feeling more and more interested in government, he ran for and won election to the office of state representative. Serving a total of 14 years, Doc Bowen, as he became known, lost only 1 election, and that by a mere 4 votes, and he never even asked for a recount. While continuing to maintain his family practice in Bremen and caring for his growing family, now 3 sons and a daughter, the country doctor in the State House served with incredible loyalty and dedication to the people who sent him to Indianapolis. He held the position of leader for 1 of his 7 terms and the powerful responsibility of Speaker of the House for 4 terms. Watching Doc in the state legislature was only a preview of even bigger challenges ahead. In 1972, Doc Bowen campaigned for and won the office of governor on a platform of tax cuts and common sense. One of his major goals was the refashioning of the state tax system. His 1973 property tax control program removed the burden of funding Indiana's educational system from the shoulders of property owners. Doc Bowen served the people of Indiana from the governor's chair with the same honest, open, hard-working style that had made him such a popular legislator. He became the first governor in Indiana's history to serve 8 consecutive years, having been re-elected with a landslide victory in 1976. Highlights of the Bowen years include his 1977 handling of the coal strike, which kept coal mined in Indiana moving and kept Hoosier homes warm. His 19 state income tax rebate, returning over $103 million to the people of Indiana. An upgrade of our state park system, an emergency medical system for the state, And in 1975, passage of one of the nation's first malpractice insurance reform laws, still recognized today as an outstanding political and social achievement. Unfortunately, his days as governor ended on a sad note when his wife Beth passed away after an extended illness only a few days before the end of Doc's final term. Seeing Doc in the years following his governorship shows us a picture of a successful, yet now retired politician. Having labored for his friends, neighbors, and state for nearly 30 years, he declined a request from then-Senator Dan Quayle to run for the Senate, instead choosing to join the faculty at the IU School of Medicine in Indianapolis. But 5 short years later, Doc Bowen would again be back serving his country. After Beth's death, he married a longtime family friend, Rose Hostetler, enjoying the settled-down life. A 1985 phone call from President Ronald Reagan changed all that.
The phone call at first came to my wife and at home, and the person on the other end said, "This is the White House calling," and she said, "Sure, this is the White House." Thought somebody was kidding her. So they finally convinced her it was, and they transferred the call to me then at my office, where I was serving as a professor of family medicine at Indiana University School of Medicine. And it was President Reagan on the other end of the line, and he asked if I would accept his appointment to become the Secretary of Health and Human Services. But I well recall many times talking with some of my peers at the medical school that, gee, that's a job that I don't know why anyone would ever want because of the controversies and because of the job being so big. But when the president personally asks you to do something, it's pretty hard to say no.
His tenure as Secretary of Health and Human Services, 3 years and 2 months, was longer than any other secretary had served before him. During his service, he tackled the challenges of AIDS, drug and alcohol abuse, defensive medicine, medical malpractice, and the many problems facing the elderly. Doc will best be remembered at Health and Human Services for his efforts in getting President Reagan's support and eventual passage, despite strong opposition, of the Acute Catastrophic Health Bill, which protected the elderly from being financially destroyed in the event of a life-threatening illness. Much of the memorabilia from Doc Bowen's career can be viewed at the Bowen Museum in the Otis and Elizabeth Bowen Library on the campus of Bethel College in Mishawaka, Indiana. A bust of Doc Bowen adorns the entrance to the library, and his early medical instruments and house-calling bag, news articles and speeches, handwritten notes, hundreds of photographs, dozens of framed political cartoons, campaign buttons, and scrapbooks fill the museum. Dr. Bowen's official portrait hangs above his governor's chair, complete with the seal of the state of Indiana. A pictorial timeline illustrates Dr. Bowen's early life and family background, and other mementos, plaques, and documents make the museum a valuable educational and cultural resource for the state of Indiana. Otis Doc Bowen is retired now and spends much of his time at his home on 5 acres east of Bremen with his wife Carol, whom he wed after Rose's passing in 1992. Among his hobbies, he enjoys reading, fishing, writing, gardening, and watching his beloved IU Hoosiers basketball. But retirement for Doc still means expressing his common sense views and values when the opportunities present themselves, and crisscrossing the country for speaking engagements. One thing you're sure never to find in Doc Bowen's life is boredom. Doc believes and said, "To be bored is to yawn in the face of God, who has placed so many things on this earth for us to see, do, and enjoy."